welcome to today's Explainer. We're diving right into a single defining moment that permanently shifted the entire world's balance of power: Pearl Harbor. It's honestly staggering to think about how one quiet morning could completely alter the trajectory of the entire globe. So, let's explore exactly how this localized surprise attack became the ultimate catalyst for total global transformation.
Picture this. It's December 7th, 1941. To put it simply, everything before this date is a completely different world than everything after it. Early that morning, the skies over Hawaii were completely normal, entirely peaceful. The ocean was perfectly calm, and the American Navy's Pacific Fleet was just quietly anchored at their bases in Pearl Harbor. The whole atmosphere was totally serene, just your typical, quiet Sunday morning. Nobody on those ships and nobody on the ground had any idea that in just a matter of minutes, they were going to experience one of the most devastating military attacks in all of human history.
So how did this all unfold? Well, it's a story of incredible contrasts. First, in the early morning, you've got this complete idyllic calm at Pearl Harbor. But shortly after, while they're unaware, hundreds of kilometers away, a massive Japanese carrier strike force is quietly, but aggressively, closing in. They were sailing across the Pacific, meticulously preparing this massive surprise attack. And then, at exactly 7:55 a.m., that surprise strike officially begins.
Section 1. The Spark. A sudden attack. At 7:55 a.m., that peaceful morning was literally shattered. Out of nowhere, the sky above Pearl Harbor just filled with Japanese military aircraft. They swooped in with incredible speed, catching the American soldiers so completely off guard that they had almost zero time to react. The suddenness of it is just hard to overstate. But you have to remember, the target wasn't random. They were going specifically for the U.S. Pacific Fleet. This was a highly calculated effort to cripple American naval power. As the attack raged on, heavy smoke poured into the air, and in practically no time at all, this once calm harbor was just completely engulfed in fire and absolute chaos.
Section 2. The USS Arizona Tragedy. Now, right in the middle of all this devastation, we have to talk about one of the most heartbreaking tragedies of the day, which happened on the battleship known as the USS Arizona. During the bombardment, this ship suffered a massive, catastrophic explosion. The sheer scale of that blast resulted in an immense loss of life, claiming a huge number of American sailors and Marines stationed aboard. It was a profoundly solemn moment, and today, a memorial rests directly over that sunken wreckage to keep that memory alive. It stands as a lasting, emotional tribute to the lives lost on a peaceful morning that turned so unbelievably violent.
Section 3. America reacts.
You can imagine how fast this news spread across the United States. It was like wildfire. Instantly, public opinion shifted, and the country's isolationist mindset was erased basically overnight. Newspapers were scrambling to print breaking headlines, and Americans everywhere were huddled around their radios just trying to grasp what happened. Just one day later, on December 8, 1941, President Franklin D. Roosevelt stood up and delivered his historic, defining address to Congress, bracing the American public for what was inevitably coming next. Following that speech, a rapid-fire chain reaction kicks off. Step 1, the United States officially declares war on Japan. Step 2, in immediate response, Japan's allies, Germany and Italy, declare war right back on the U.S., which leads to Step 3, America is now fully pulled into a massive multi-front global conflict.
Section 4. The Fire. Rapid Mobilization.
Once they were officially in the war, the whole country shifted gears with just unbelievable speed. We're talking mass production initiated literally across the board. Weapons, aircraft, ships, all kinds of military equipment. Millions of everyday citizens stepped up to join the armed forces and started prepping for deployment. Meanwhile, workers in American factories were assembling machinery and building ships at a scale the world had literally never seen before. They instantly retooled an entire society from peacetime neutrality straight into full-scale wartime operations.
Section 5. A Global Turning Point. America entering the conflict was an absolutely crucial turning point for all the Allied powers. Just think about this contrast for a second. On December 6th, the U.S. is essentially just observing World War II from the sidelines. But by December 8th, they are entirely committed, fully preparing to fight massive combat operations on both the European and Pacific fronts. That sudden injection of American troops, the vast resources, those mass-produced vehicles, it provided an overwhelming boost that fundamentally altered the strategic balance of the whole war.
Over the next few years, American forces continuously expanded their operations, fighting alongside the Allies all over the globe. And that rapid transition to war, it had the ultimate impact. By 1945, the heavy involvement of U.S. forces had decisively influenced the final outcome of World War II, helping bring this massive, devastating global conflict to a successful conclusion for the Allied powers.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, here's what you really need to take away. Pearl Harbor was so much more than just a devastating military attack. Historically speaking, it was the ultimate catalyst. It irreversibly drew America out of isolation and thrust it directly into the heart of a global conflict, changing the country's role on the world stage forever.
Which really leaves us with this one final, provocative question to think about. How did one quiet morning change the course of history forever? We went from a calm ocean to a sudden surprise attack to a rapid chain reaction that completely altered the modern world. The legacy of December 7, 1941, stands as a permanent turning point in human history. Thanks so much for joining this explainer, and we'll catch you in the next one.